Good afternoon, friends. I can get your attention for a moment. I've been asked to let you know that we're doing a 50-50 raffle right now. If you haven't had a chance to get your tickets to the 50-50 raffle, you want to see Russ right over here for your 50-50 raffle tickets. Now we'll be doing that here for the next few minutes, and we'll be starting the ceremony very shortly. Thank you very much for coming, guys.
Proceeds here shortly. So if the 2023 inductees would please come and sit in the front row. Right here, these black chairs. We appreciate it. And
Filming now. What's that? You're filming in? Yes, I'm live. I just got a graphic now. See this graphic? See this graphic? Okay.
where's Jackie with Roland? Jackie.
There you go.
Mrs. C. Webb,
Photographer's ready. Yes.
please come and sit in the front row here, would you please?
Right, to get to you because you're the man.
Yes, I'll look like I'm really serious here.
There you go. Okay, you can have the room.
No, I don't have to be serious. So if you're viewing this from home, we'll be starting here in just a moment. I'm waiting for everything to kind of get in place here, and then I'll remove the graphic and we can enjoy the ceremony. So if you are viewing this from home, don't go anywhere. We'll be starting here in just a few minutes.
Where's Frank Dodge? Frank Dodge.
So if you're viewing this from home, don't go anywhere. We're just about to get started here in the next couple of minutes with the live stream of the induction ceremony, 2023 induction ceremony for the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. We're just waiting for everyone to get in place here, everyone to be seated. And once we're situated, I'm going to remove the graphic that you're looking at now, and we'll get started with the ceremony. Shouldn't be more than just a minute or two. So if you're viewing this from home, don't go anywhere.
Anywhere. If there's any Hall of Fame members that would like to sit in the back row here, please go ahead. There's plenty of room. Diane Baker. Where's Diane? Diane Baker. Sit right in the back row, please. Ron Hall. Where's Terry? Terry Hall, would you like to sit with your husband? You don't want to sit. Okay, we'll get this show on the road here. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome everyone to the 7th Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame induction ceremony, where we're inducting 5 more legends of the sport this year. And before we go through the proceedings, I would like to introduce, let me just say this. You've probably seen the movie The Field of Dreams, where shoeless Joe Jackson hollers out to the farmer who's played by Kevin Costner, "Is this heaven?" And he says, "No, this is Iowa." I'm going to change that up a little bit. Everybody please yell all at once, "Is this heaven?" Right now.
Is this heaven?
No, this is Lancaster, New Hampshire. This is home to the very first Skidoo snowmobile to come into the United States right here. This is home to possibly the first snowmobile race in America in 1962 that happened right here. This is home to the oldest snowmobile club in America that happened right here. And the guy that rode that first snowmobile and the guy that helped organize that first race is standing right here, right now. Paul Crane, please. Get Paul Crane, please. And let me introduce somebody that's very dear to our heart, especially Paul, and Marilyn's over there, their daughter Melissa. Melissa is going to help us out with this thing because, as Paul said, he and I are getting a little older. Maybe me, not Paul. He's only 84, but you never know what's going to happen down the road. And Melissa is right on board with the Hall of Fame. She's right on board with that museum, and she's going to carry this thing on. And not only that, she's great. She takes after her mother. So, with that, she's going to go out and take care of the food for us, which is happening later. For all the Hall of Fame people here and their families, we're going to have a meal down there at the museum after this ceremony. And everybody else is surely welcome to come down there and tour the museum. We just don't have enough food for everybody, but we're going to do it for the Hall of Fame people and the Hall of Fame people that are in the Hall of Fame right now. So last year we inducted Larry Mearman, Butch Consolini, Ronnie Riemann, Jim Saul, and Tim White. And this year we're inducting 5 more legends into the Hall of Fame. But before we do that, we've also lost 3 very close people to the snowmobile world. One of them was Mr. Bob Clark, who we're going to miss deeply here. He was one of the guys that worked with Paul Crane here on the very first snowmobile race here in Lancaster, and his entire life was around the snowmobile. He was a mechanic at Roberts Motors back in 1969, but he was a Grand Prix chairman in between time, and he used to work with Roberts Motors. They had a snowmobile racing team there, and he used to work with them. And Harrington King Company Incorporated down in Randolph, Mass. which was a Polaris distributor at the time, they were watching Mr. Bob Clark. And they thought that he would probably be a good salesman for them. So they sent another salesman with the name of Ken Russell from Randolph, Mass. to Roberts Motors, where Mr. Bob Clark was on a creeper slid under the front end of a Mack truck in a greasy one-piece uniform. And he walks up and he says, "Mr. Clark, can I have a word with you?" And Bob slides out from under that Mack truck, looks up. He said, "Yeah." He says, "Mr. Clark, we'd like you to come on board in my company as a salesman." Bob's looking up, he says, "I'm no salesman, I'm a mechanic." Bob Clark never looked back. He decided to try it out. He became a salesman at Hampton King, and when Polaris left them and went to Nelson and Small out of Portland, he went to Nelson and Small, and when Bob Clark retired, he was the head area rep from Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and all of upstate New York for Polaris Industries. The other person that we lost is Mr. Bruce Donovan. And Bruce Donovan won the Grand Prix right out here more times than anybody else ever did. Bruce Donovan was in the top 2% of the highest snowmobile racers at the time he raced. He raced for Timberland Machines for a while, and then he went to Arctic one year and raced for them. And I met Bruce and Mary at our first induction. He and Bob Clark both were the first to be inducted here in 2017. And I can tell you this, Bruce Donovan and Mary Donovan were the salt of this earth. They were the nicest people in the world, and we're going to miss Bruce Donovan terribly. And the other person that passed away is Deborah Keyes, New York racer. And we don't know much about her record, but Bruce Beauregard is going to check her record to see if she's a viable candidate for this Hall of Fame. We do know that her name is on that Kilkenny Cup over there. And we lost Deborah this year as well. So with that, what's that? Bruce just said he has her resume. How's it look, Bruce? So there you go. 3 legends that we've lost this year. So why don't we have a moment of silence for those 3 legends of the snowmobile racing world and anyone else that we've lost this year as well. Thank you very much. I want to welcome everybody to this. It is a custom that we've done every year. I want to introduce my friend, Mr. Paul Crane, who I've mentioned before. If it wasn't for Paul, the Hall of Fame would not have a home. I came up with this harebrained idea one night, couldn't sleep. The next morning at 7 o'clock, Sunday morning, I give Paul a call. We had just finished the national show, and I knew I knew Paul would be up anyway. And I called him, and I says, "Paul," I says, "we have to do something." And I says, "What are your thoughts on having a snowmobile Hall of Fame in your museum?" 3 words: let's do it. So, Paul Crane, out of everything that he's ever done, I think this is the good stuff right here. I don't know about you guys. I want to thank my wife, Linda, over there. She's been on board with this ever since. She's helped me out. She's my proofreader, my critic, my everything. She's my life. That's my life. And Paul's wife, Marilyn, is the lady behind this guy's success right here. He'll tell you that. And she's gone with Melissa, I believe, or is she here? She's gone with Melissa probably to take care of the food. And other people that we want to thank here is Mr. Greg Allen on the camera, and he's been on the camera ever since the very first one in 2017, and he does an excellent job. I can't believe he's not a cameraman for WWR or something. He's natural at it. So thank you very much, Greg. I want to thank Mike LaPierre, who is also our cameraman, our editor, our DVD burner, all around good guy. Can't be without that fellow right over there, Mike LaPierre. Historian Russ Swenton, first guy through this building this morning to help out. Russ Swenton is our historian. And board members, Mr. Bob Martin, who is in the Hall of Fame, Shane Beatty, who was the 50th Grand Prix chairman, the 2015 Grand Prix chairman, and the 2017 Grand Prix chairman, Shane Beatty over there, and Ed Stapp. Ed Stapp helped Shane and I save the 50th Grand Prix reunion one night on the phone, right here. There's a Bruce Morgan over there, who is on fire when it comes to compiling these race records. He calls me daily. I've got a record for this guy, I got a record for that guy, and I got a record for this guy. And oh, by the way, I got a check for all the mailings for the student I got to give you. And he does a great job over there. So, and also, Michael Maggie Boyd. I think you people have seen his, I don't, that's what they call themselves. I don't know if it's Michael Boyd or Maggie Boyd that does the photos for us, but I'll send a terribly bad photo to them. And he'll send it back looking like brand new, and he did that for us on these plaques here. So thank you, Michael Maggie Boyd. And this year marks the first time we will be inducting a brother and sister team to the Hall of Fame. And we are inducting a two-stroke guru who did things with small engines that was thought to be impossible. We are inducting multi-World Series winners and a two-time driver of the year. Plus, we have a surprise for one of them at the end of the program. In case you haven't noticed, but it's pretty hard to miss, we got the beautiful Kilkenny Cup over there, thanks to Shane. And Spencer, oh no, yeah, Spencer brought it in. So thank you for that. That's a beautiful trophy from 50 years ago that you had to win the same event 3 years in a row, and no one ever did. That's how tough it was to win races up here. And also, my wife has a t-shirt table over there and there's some DVDs for sale. I can apologize right now for the price of the t-shirts and the long sleeve shirts. The Hall of Fame makes $5 on each one of these things. Everything has gone up. But I can tell you this, when you put one of those shirts on, it tells everybody that you're a supporter of the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. So please consider that, and consider the DVDs over there. There's the time capsule of the 1971 Grand Prix and the 1973 World Series at Malone, New York on that DVD. It's a beautiful DVD that Mike put together. It's fantastic. If anybody's interested in that stuff. So without further delay, let's do our first Hall of Fame inductee. Mr. Richard DeSantis. Inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame 2023. 14-year-old Richard began racing in 1974, racing a 340 rough on Friday nights at Owl Speedway, Bedford, New Hampshire. In 1975, he began racing in USSA sanctioned events in Junior 2 on rough and Mercury 250s, taking 6 first place wins and 2 second place wins, plus grabbing a World Series title for Junior 2 Masters class at St. Paul, Minnesota. Richard entered the men's classes at 16 in stock feeding and super stock 1, taking 5 first place wins in B stock with 3 first place wins and 5 seconds in super stock 1. He was the season's high point champion in B stock, earning number 12 foam bib for the 1977-78 season. For the 1977-78 season, racing 250 and 340 IFS Skidoo Blizzards in super stock and in super mod, DeSantis grabbed 6 first place wins in super stock 1, 3 first in super mod 1, 5 first in super stock 2, and a first in super stock 2, super mod 2. He was the New England high point champion in both the super stock 250 and 340 classes for the season. Was 4th in points nationwide in the super stock 250. He was voted driver of the year from 1977-78, earning gold bib number 8. The highlight of the season was qualifying for Snow Pro in Portland, taking 2 to 6 place finishes against factory teams. I'll tell you something about the factory teams. When they came here much earlier on in this racing game that we've had, we could beat the pants off them, but they had no money. And eventually, it was very tough to even compete at all our factory teams. So taking 6th place, pretty awesome. Richard continued his winning ways for 1979, racing Skidoo Blizzards in the 250, 340, and 440 Superstar, Supermod, and 440X classes, taking many firsts and seconds in all classes. DeSantis tied the track record at Jackman, Maine, held by Bobby Donahue and J.R. Tozier. Richard led most of the 440X race in the Paul Bunyan Open, but came in second to Gilles Villeneuve. That's pretty tough to beat that boy. Richard DeSantis won 2 more titles at the 1979 Snowmobile World Series in Superstock 340 and 440 classes at Fulton, New York, and was voted again driver of the year in the New England division for the 2nd year in a row. was the High Point champion in Super Stock 340 and 440 classes, earning Snow Pro bib number 34 and Gold bib number 1 in the New England division from 1979 and 1980. Ladies and gentlemen, please.
Would you like to go up there with him?
Yes, please. Don't beat me now. You can hold the flag. Yeah, what a record, man. What a record. What is it about snowmobile races? All these guys are handsome. I'm not getting it. Huh? Look at this.
Rich.
Okay. We've been chasing this gentleman down for ever since we started this thing. And Frank assured us that he was going to stop work long enough so that he could come up and accept his plaque. And here it is, right here. You can stay seated, Frank, if you want until I get this ready. Or do you want to come up? Come on. Before I read the flag, I want to tell you a story. It was in 1972. If you remember, that was the year of the Lloyd Blizzard chassis. And very few brands were beating those two Blizzards back then. And Bobby Fortin had injured himself while testing his sled. He was looking at the gauges, he wasn't watching where he's going, so he dove into an irrigation ditch behind Timberland machines. He wrecked his knee, broke his wrist, and put him out of commission. So he asked Frank if Frank would drive the baby classes as well as the 440 and the 650 at Drake's Shore. Well, we're out here in the 72 Grand Prix race. I'm on the infield just helping out the day. And Bob came over and he had a stopwatch. I'm over there talking to Bob Fortin. And Frank comes up. And Frank drives his sled, and I think it was in the 440 class. He goes up on the very rim of the high bank in 1 and 2. And I mean at the very top, wide open. And then he shoots straight down like this, straight down across the track, and takes a couple of sleds doing that. They're racing on the racetrack. Frank is up here, cuts right in front of him. And I look at Bob, Bob looks at me, he says, there's no way in hell. Frank was one of the most daring drivers on the circuit, no doubt about it. So, Frank Dodge inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame 2023. Frank purchased his first snowmobile in 1965, an 8 horsepower Skidoo. It didn't take him long before desiring more speed, so he bought a faster sled and soon went racing and winning at small events around the North Country. Flagman Ted Poynott noticed Frank's talent, told him he should join USSA. He did, and New England Snowmobile Racing had a brand new start. In his first USSA event, Frank took first place in both Mod oval race and speed obstacle. He was hurt in a crash in 1969, but finished in the top 3 positions for most of the events. He entered in 68, 69, and 1970 seasons. Timberland Machines Incorporated came knocking on Frank's door in the fall of 1970, looking to add another top Eastern driver to the team. Dodge again was constantly finishing in the first, second, and third positions all through the 1971 season, earning bib number 132 out of 5,000 active drivers in USSA East. But it was when they sat Frank on the 1972 Blizzards that he would make New England racing history. After team captain Bob Thornton was involved in the season-ending accident while testing a new race sled behind their shop, he asked Dodge if he'd like to race his 295, 340 triples besides the 440 and the 800 class, and he said yes. Frank either won every class he entered or took second, ending the 1972 season with 3,422 points, qualifying him in all 4 classes for the World Series in Ironwood, Michigan. He decided to take only 2, his Mod 3 and Mod 5 sleds. As luck would have it, the 440 wouldn't start for the Class 3 feature, and although he drew for #1 position in Class 5 final, that big 800 triple had so much power and traction off the line, it snapped the triple roller chain off as if it was a bicycle chain. Frank Dodge did something no other New England driver ever did at that time, and that was to win the coveted #1 gold bib for 1973. He raced 4 times in 1973, taking 3 seconds and a win. But a new contract in business was calling, so he retired. And Littleton presented Frank with Businessman of the Year in 2012, and everybody I've talked with in that little town of Littleton has nothing but good to say about Frank Dodge.
You like to go up with him?
All right, Frank. Get back to work now. Next inductee, Everett Regal, inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame 2023, engine chassis builder, team owner. Known as Super Inch by his peers, Everett was a self-taught machinist, design engineer, and inventor. He ran a world-class race team with as many as 12 sleds from his small one-car garage in Phoenix, New York. Regal was building Rotex race engines in 1967, winning dozens of events, including the New York State Championship in Boonville, New York. He wrenched for the Polaris factory in 1968, but was approached by Fay Parmalee and Ken Young in the summer of 1969 about starting a race team with Arctic Cats. With Richie Sharp joining soon after, They met with Bob Schwartz of Nero Equipment and the Cat distributor, and a deal was struck. The new team was dubbed the Widowmakers. In the first USSA Snowmobile World Series against major factory teams and distributor teams, Ken Young won Mod 4 with a regalized Perth 634 twin-cylinder engine. By the end of their first year, the Widowmaker team had earned the #1 and #2 gold bibs in the Eastern Division. Arctic Enterprises soon after offered Everett the position as head of their factory race team, but after much deliberation, he declined this great offer because of family reasons. With Wade Chip Elwood now joining the team, the Widowmakers won Mod 1, Mod 2, Mod 3, Mod 4 at the Oswego Speedway in 1971, winning a combined $4,000. These people were professional racers back then. They were bringing home $1,500 to $2,000 Monday morning if they were very good. These people were professionals. In 1972, Everett's genius was no more evident than when he combined two twin-cylinder engines, a 250 and a 340cc, making it into a 295cc hybrid engine. And in their first race at Marion Lake, Pennsylvania, Ken Young won Mod 1, Mod 2, and Mod 3 with a 295. After Ken won Mod 1 with this engine at the World Series in Ironwood, it was impounded, and the officials spent hours deliberating before calling it legal for the class. Young went on to win the Pennsylvania State Championship and the #2 gold bib. Ken Young II won the 1974 Junior 1 World Series title in Eagle River, Wisconsin. Richie Sharp was named the 1974 Driver of the Year. After he retired the Widowmakers in 1974, Everett helped his son garner gold bibs number 60, 70, and was track champion at Weeksport in 1975. Never having the luxury of dynos, of high-tech equipment, or highly financed teams, Everett Super Ranch Regal's engines and sled could beat everyone. Would his son-in-law Mike Spillway like to come up and, yeah, have a few words? Oh, I got it wrong, Solomon? Yeah, okay.
First of all,
Yeah.
I want to say what a distinct honor it is to have my father-in-law, Everett Regal, inducted into this Hall of Fame. It's amazing. But with that, I have a great privilege of being here representing Everett and his entire family in this award. And I've got to tell you, it's been somewhat of a dream. I'm getting goosebumps already, because when I walk in, I've met some fellows that I've only read about in books and never had the opportunity to meet. I met Herb Yancey right off immediately. And then I met Chip Elwood. These were men that I heard of for years. In November of 1972, I met a young gal named Donna Regal. We dated for a little while, for a few months, and she proceeded to introduce me to her parents, Everett and Ida Regal, and the rest of her family. We went on to date some more, and then one night she called me aside and said, "Listen, I need to tell you something. I just heard my dad talking on the phone with some fellows from Arctic Cat, and they're trying to work out some sort of a deal, I spoke of earlier, for Everett to come to Arctic Cat and Beef River Falls, Minnesota, to work on their factory racing engines there." Well, she told me that, and right away I knew, boy, I got to step up my game. I got to get a hold of this young gal before they move to Beef River Falls. And subsequently, that's what happened. I married Donna the next October 13th, which will be our 50th anniversary next month. So many of the events and accomplishments that came in Everett's life came before I was part of the Regal family. But I did have the opportunity to spend a couple of those years watching Everett Jr. or Rusty, as some know him to be, race at Weedsport, and it was just really, really exciting. Everett Jr. has posted online a number of very detailed descriptions of his father's accomplishments. The Widowmakers team on there, the infamous engine that has never been duplicated, I don't believe. That engine was stolen. It was on display in Everett's shop in downtown Phoenix, and it was stolen and was never seen again. Someone thought they saw it in Alaska sometime, but you don't know if you could track that out. We have no idea. But it's been just a fabulous career that Everett had. And this is just amazing. Thank you for this induction into the Hall of Fame. Thank you for the opportunity to come and meet you all and accept this at this
time. And here's his plaque. And I think Chip Elwood would like to say a few words, and Ed have to. If you want to come up, Chip.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to the Hall of Fame for Everett. I'm going to represent Faye and Richie, Kenny, and myself. And trust me, they were all here, they will be here. Believe me. Everett was not only a great friend, but he was a genius as a mechanic. And he worked in the mill there. Even, maybe I told you this before, but he had a patent on the little drill bit. You couldn't even hardly see the grooves on it. They would put mercury into a thermometer. He had a patent on that. And he made this adapter for Phase 440 with 3 carburetors. To this day, I don't know how the heck he ever made that adapter. So those 3 carburetors went into 2 cylinders. But they did, and I want you to know. Anyway, okay. And but it is an honor for me too, because Everett was such a good friend, and all that stuff about Arctic is all true. He talked to Ron Porter and them out there all the time on the phone. They wanted him to be, could have won, trust me. But he was just a great person, and definitely made a lot of achievement. Thank you.
Thank you, Chip is a Hall of Famer too. So. And there's another person who wants to speak on Everett's behalf. And Russ, do you want to say a few words? Russ Swanton, our historian.
Thanks everybody for coming. I was too young to race, but I wasn't too young to work at camp, which I owe a lot to my dad and George Sr. Took pictures of him at a race one time, and he said, "Well, you taking pictures of me? We'll take pictures of this." So in my father's collection from 1970, we had a picture that he had from Monticello, which is one of the first races of the season. In fact, the date on the picture was December 1970. When we got all the way up there, there's no snow anywhere, but they had snow on the track because they brought snow making equipment. And while we were in the pits, I looked at this sled that had number 1E on it, and it had 4 spark plugs. I'm 14 years old, but I had never seen a sled with 4 spark plugs. I took a picture of it, and I had it for a long time, and never knew who was in the picture. And after as time goes on, I realized it was Kenny Young's sled, but I couldn't realize who this guy was that was leaning over the sled. So I got a hold of some people and told me to get a hold of Russ, which is at the time. And he couldn't believe that there was actually a picture taken of his father because no one had a picture of his father. So he asked me if I would send him the picture that he could use on the website. And I said that he could. So years later, on that, I believe it was Rolling Wheels Raceway, when they had a great use of the whiteout and they had racing there on the track that had staff promoting. I ran into Ed Senior and I had a copy of the picture. And I asked him if he would autograph it. And he was so honored that somebody came up to him that not only had a picture, but wanted his autograph. And every year after that, as he got more ill and he was in his little buggy, he had that picture in his buggy, and he always came up to me to thank me for taking that picture until the day he died. I never saw me. So what I decided to do is I wanted to donate this to the Hall of Fame to hang on the wall. It's the signed picture that I have of it. He's not going to be here to sign anymore, so I want this to stay in a safe place. So I want you guys to have it and put it on the wall.
Thank you very much. That's a beautiful picture.
This is the original.
Wow,
It's a little yellow from the years, but it says right in the back, December 1970. But that's the original picture. Yeah. So, thank you.
thank you very much, Ross. Appreciate it very much. Now, before I go too far, I want to introduce some of our Hall of Famers back here. Got Ed Stack, who I mentioned before, and Lois Lund. If you'd like to stand up, Lois. Lois Lund is the first person to ride a Lancaster Fairgrounds. He was test driving for Bobby Youngster on the Chaparral project. And Diane Baker, who we inducted a couple of 3 years ago. Paul Montang. Paul Ranger. George Gordon. Thank you for coming. Herb Yancey beside him. Bruce Borage. Ron Hall. Wayne Chappelle, we just met Wayne. Raced for 2 DPs. He raced for the Widowmakers, and he also raced for Team Able, along with Herb Yancey and Ron Hall. And we've got photos of all 3 of those guys together, and with Bill too. So that was a rare moment, and it was a wonderful thing to get done, wasn't it, Bruce? So here we go. Jacqueline DeWitt Rowland. 16-year-old Jackie DeWitt began her racing career in January of 1971 and tallied enough wins and top finishes to place 3rd in points for the USSA Eastern Division in women's 400cc class. For the 1971-72 season, she won her class at the New York State Championship in Boonville and garnered enough points to qualify for the World Series in Ironwood, Michigan, where she was pitted against the best woman racer in the country at that time, Dorothy Mercer. She was the Polaris Factory team driver, beating her in the final and winning her first World Series title. Jackie continued her winning ways for the 1972-73 season by posting wins at Weedsport, Brewertown, Malone, Waterloo, and in Greenville, where a man jumped into the ladies' class after winning his event just to show the girls how it's done. But he was the one who was shown the door by Mr. Wynn. She was leading the World Series final that year on her Mach 1 drop machine when it overheated and she finished 3rd. Jackie took 1973 and 74 off of college, but returned to the track in the winter of 1975 with a vengeance, winning her class at the New York State Championships, the Pennsylvania State Championships, and Syracuse, New York. With Jackie's dad as the mechanic, She raced her snow twister hard to win another World Series title at Wilkesport, New York in women's Mod 3. Her final season of racing in the 1975-76 season found her again in the winner's circle with 7 first-place finishes, including another World Series win in women's Mod 1. Jackie also grabbed second place in Mod 2, and her combined point total for the year gave her the Eastern Division points title in both women's Mod 1 and women's Mod 2. She also got married during this time, known now as Jackie DeWitt Rowland. She credits her win-laden racing career to her family's support, especially to her hardworking parents. Well, none of it would have been possible. Miss Jackie DeWitt Rowland. Well, Jackie's son, please come forward. And I don't know if you folks know this, but she is an excellent photographer. If you've seen any of her photography online, it's just gorgeous. So, yeah, very nice. And you can, yes, you can.
I'm not good at this at all. But I want to take the opportunity to thank everyone who's associated with the Eastern Snowmobile Hall of Fame and all the hard work that they've done. And a shout out to Bruce for all your hard work in trying to get my resume in order and believing in me and my brother. And I think all I did was go around in circles faster and stuff. But it was a great honor to have this, and I need to thank my father, who spent endless hours out in the garage, working on not only my sled, but my brother's sled, Richard DeWitt. And every winter weekend, we would go racing, and he was there to hold my hand before I went out on the track and supported me. And then a special loving thank you to my mother, Barbara DeWitt, who's sitting next to me. She got everything in order. She packed that camper, she took the food, she made sure there was everything there that we could use. And she was there to always support me as well. And then I need to thank my brother, who's not here today, but he's in our memories. And also my son standing here, Jordan. Love you, Jordan. And then my partner Lance and my family that came. Thank you very much.
Well, Jacqueline DeWitt Rowland and Mrs. Barbara DeWitt, please come back to the podium. This is going to be tough. Richard DeWitt, inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame 2023. Dick won his first Snowmobile World Series title at 14 years old in Boonville, New York, easily winning in Junior 3. He also grabbed second place in Junior 2 and finished third in USSA points for the 1971 season. DeWitt swapped wins at the 1972 Snowmobile World Series in Ironwood, Michigan by winning in Junior 2 and taking second in Junior 3. The 1972-73 season for Dick DeWitt was one for the record books. He won 8 first place titles in Junior 2, 6 first place titles in Junior 3, with only 3 second place and 1 third place finish for the whole year. His 802-point lead was 350 points over the second place finisher. Richard topped the season off with an unprecedented third Snowmobile World Series win in a row. 3 World Series wins in a row. Winning in Junior 2, taking third in Junior 3, and was the first person to win back-to-back World Series titles in the same class. Dick entered the men's classes for the 1973-74 season and grabbed top points in men's D stock, second points for stock B, and second points for men's Mod 1. This earned him the coveted number 51 gold bib for the 1975 season. That's like the number 1 gold bib in stock class. Due to the gas shortage, the DeWitt family didn't make the trip to Eagle River, Wisconsin for the 1974 Snowmobile World Series. Richard D. DeWitt never got the chance to weather the top bib in stock racing number 51, nor to ever race snowmobiles again. He was killed in a tragic car accident. In 1974, he was only 17 years old, but in a short time here, Dick left us with a kind of win record that is nothing short of legendary. Although he never had the chance to race again, this record of his has provided us with enough substance of proof, which we need, and the board believes in our hearts, that Mr. DeWitt deserved to be inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. With his mother, and I put this down, his mother and his family got to see this day. This is DeWitt. I can't believe it's got to be so tough. Here's the mic if you want to say a few words.
We had a lot of wonderful memories, and I thank you all for voting. Thank you.
Well, that concludes the Hall of Fame ceremony, and I apologize for my emotions. Well, it's a tough day, but it's a great day. And I appreciate everybody coming, and I think we're going to get down to the museum now, Paul. Oh, yeah. Okay, probably have to give Greg and Mike a little while to take the cameras down and get them set up. And maybe you can call somebody back when you get it all in, and then we'll have our Hall of Fame inductees go down, and we'll go down and do the wall.
Or just give us a 10-minute head start.
What's that?
Or just give us a 10-minute head start.
Yeah, I'll give you a 10-minute head start.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it won't take long.
Okay, so why don't we do that then? All right.